the episode that I think stole America's heart was the Joel Damon and Gino Benali episode. Like, for me, hands down, like, I've always known who Joel Damon was, right? He's the only guy that rocks the bucket hat. He won. The bucket hat flew into the lake, and Gino went and grabbed it. That's basically all I knew about him. But his story, like him, I think it was him and Tony Finau's, like, you know, their lives were basically, you know, filled with such tragedy, right? You know, with Joel Damon, his mom passed away of cancer when he was like 17 or 18 years old. Then he had a bout with testicular cancer, and just how he was always that underdog, but that self-deprecating underdog where, you know, he's got such an amazing game, and like these super high level guys like Max Homa, you know, they're friends with him and they're telling him like, dude, you're a better golfer than you think you are. Stop tearing yourself down. You know, even Gino had said that you know, he tries to build him up, and I don't think, you know, Joel doesn't understand how good of a golfer he is and how great he is. And just for a fact, like a tour pro has to qualify for that event. That was crazy when you think about like the struggles that these guys go through, like week in and week out, just to keep your job. You know,
right, and not just have to qualify. He was down, right? He was drinking White Claws at lunchtime. You know, he was like, might as well have a White Claw, you know. And but it's nice to get a little snippet into these guys' lives. You know, when I thought it was funny, Joel Damon, when he told his father that they were pregnant, and his dad's like, "Oh man, your life's about to change." Not even like congratulations. I got a kick out of that. But like I said, it's nice to see that they're real humans, and they're all of them are, and you know, we're all human. You know, they're all through the tribulations, ups and downs. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of Joel Damon. I knew I always liked him, but I didn't know why. And after that episode, I was like, I'm a great judge of character, let me tell you, because that guy, he was something else. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy that episode of him.
Yeah, I mean, the episode kind of came full circle too, right? Because like he spends all this time making fun of himself and taking shots at himself, and Gino's trying to build him back up. And before the credits roll, one of the last things he says is, "I guess I really am that good." So like, I don't know if that was like an awakening moment for him where he was like, you know what, the light bulb went off. Like, I can hang with these guys.
Yeah,
no, definitely. I agree. He, like you said, he shot himself down the whole episode, and then they're good, man. It's such a fine line for these guys. There's such a fine line in the sand between good and great, and it's just it's centimeters.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. I mean, you know, when you look at the like guys like Scotty Scheffler or you know, John Rahm, right, where Tiger, I think on average during the course of the span of a career, he averaged 4 wins a season. You know, 4 wins. That's really all he won a season, was 4 times a year to be the GOAT, right? So Scheffler had 4 last season when he won the Masters, and I think Rahm's won 3 so far this year, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it's 3. I think so. I think at least 3. I feel like he's won every one so far.
Right. So it's like when you know, like in terms of guys who are dominating the games, and obviously it's impossible to dominate week in and week out where, you know, you're a top 10, but you know, when you think about guys like them, like when you're competing with the, you know, the Scotty Schefflers or the John Rahms week in and week out, I can understand, but I think Joel Damon's got what it takes to be a top 20 or 30 golfer week in and week out. You know, that's what I think, and
he sure seems like it.
I listen. You know, he's a guy that if he played with us, he would, you know, he would obliterate us. And just to think on that level where, you know, he said it, he's like, I want to be the best, you know, 70th golfer in the world. You know, and just to think, like, out of every single human being on this planet, he's the 70th ranked golfer on the planet. But listen, we have a very, very special guest today.
Wait,
Oh,
Well,
whoa.
wait, we can't go. Hold on. We can't, real quick. We can't go without talking about Tiger Woods. Real quick.
Okay,
Tiger
all
Woods,
right.
because I didn't care. I didn't care who won that tournament. Tiger played 4 days of golf, on one leg, right? Coming off, not competing for what? How many months was the last time? Who knows? 20 something. I don't even know. There was crazy numbers, stats that they were throwing out there.
Month.
So don't count Tiger out at the Masters. That's all I got to say. Watch out, baby. Watch out.
Yeah, but the Masters is a
and
tough walking course.
Well, I'll tell you what, Riviera is taxing with all the downhills based on the type of leg injury he had. So I had double knee surgery back in 2019, and one of the things I struggled with was walking downhill and walking downstairs. And the announcers mentioned it, I think it was sometime on Saturday, that the downhills are worse than the uphills. And you could see him intentionally slow himself down walking off a tee box to make sure he was stable and he had his footing. So that was a real challenge for him to walk 72 holes in the 4 days with the amount of downhill that I saw just watching the few rounds I watched.
Yeah. So in a couple of weeks,
I'm excited, man. Watch out. That putter gets hot. Look out.
Oh, yeah. All right. So now it's time to introduce our guest. We've got my friend Mike Manley. He's the president of Pure Swing Products, or the Precision Impact. That's this little gem right here. It's basically a impact position training aid, which we'll let him tell us more about it. Let's let him in. He's coming. There he is.
There he is.
Here, who is?
Mike Manley, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Did we catch you off guard?
Just a little bit. That's all right, though.
Yeah, with this app, it's a little weird. It doesn't tell you that you're waiting in the waiting room or whatever. So that's why I tried to text you to let you know, like, hey, we're letting you in shortly. But welcome to the podcast. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Welcome, Mike.
Thanks.
So I talked a little bit about the Precision Impact, right?
That's a little familiar.
Yeah. I've been working with it. Every time I practice, pre-rounds. If there's a driving range, I'll put this on, hit half shots with it, just to get the clicking sound in my head to help with the tempo.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us about this. Tell us about it. What made you develop it?
Yeah. So I've been a good athlete in most things I do. I played hockey, softball, baseball, football, basketball, downhill skiing, you name it. And I was pretty darn good, played at a pretty high level. But golf, I sucked. So I wonder, why do I suck at golf? And so I went through years of just, I took lessons every now and again and so on. And then I had this friend of mine. His name is Jim. He was a PGA member. And I said, hey, look, you got to take a look at my swing. This is crazy, right? 6'1", 190 pounds, and I'm hitting my drives like a 9-iron, and what the heck's going on? So he actually took a video, okay, of my swing, and he superimposed it over Nick Faldo's, and it was a pretty ugly thing to see. Well, in fact, the backswing, it was actually pretty decent, and even the transition looked pretty good. And then there goes my hands, right? I'm the flipping poster child. There goes my hands. I am telling you, as hard as it might be to believe, my club was around me and to the left of me at the very same time in the rotation. Nick Faldo's club is still straight up in the air. Okay? Can you imagine that? Being 180 degrees off where you should be. So I was the poster boy, right? And he said, you need to really work on that, blah, 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 blah. Couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. That's all I would think about, Joe. I just could not do it. And so I had to develop something. And boom, it was born. I'm an engineer, automotive engineer, so I got all kinds of experience with designing car parts. Well, so I just transferred that knowledge really over to this product, and I know again it's going to be difficult to believe. I hope your listeners can really trust this. I was a 22 handicap. I hit the ball like crap. I was terrified every time I saw weeds or water. And one winter at the Golf Dome, no lessons, just one winter at the Golf Dome, practicing this new swing, which felt entirely weird to me. And the next year I was an 8. And I would have been better, but my course management is not unreal, okay? My drives were 300 plus. My chipping and putting were just unreal crisp, just crazy beautiful.
Well, as I think Doug could attest to this, like I'm like Mr. Well, it's raining pretty hard over there, eh, Doug?
It's coming down. They're not outside anymore. It is coming down.
Yeah,
you said tornado watch, so
we were talking. I think there's a tornado watch in our area. Like, so before we started, I was getting the alerts about tornadoes, but like in terms of like game improvement products, I'll try anything because like you, I suffer from the flip, and I think it's because growing up I played hockey lefty. And I'm used to using my wrist like for like since I'm a kid. My dad was always like, wrist shot's the most important shot of the game. Your snapshot is the most important, and it's all from this.
Yeah.
So
yes.
The way it translated into golf was I always kind of felt like where I would get, I know that you have that zone, you have the speed zone, right? Which is that area right before impact, where that's where you're generating all the speed. Like if you watch a pro, they look like they're barely hitting the ball. And then all of a sudden, all their speed, and they're hitting 90, like they're 7-iron, 95 miles an hour. But that 95 miles an hour is happening right here. And I would always think like, hey, if I get up there and I start tracking my speed, if I'm at 77, I know if I whip my wrist, I can get that up to 90. But what happens? You basically de-loft or add loft to the club. And then like what I was so a pitching wedge, which, if you're swinging at 90 miles an hour and it's a standardized loft, that should go 135, 140, between 135, 145.
Oh, yeah.
Where mine are dropping out of the air at like 110 because I'm flipping so bad. So I'm probably lofting my pitching wedge up to like a 50 degree.
Right. Does your wife any further?
Yes. And I'm 6'3", so people see me and they look at me and they're like, yeah, you drive the ball 300 yards. I'm like, no, not really.
It's like 220, this guy sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, sometimes. But just working with it has been great for me. Like I was telling Doug earlier, like when you feel this when you're setting it and you hear this, right? That kind of sets the tempo where I know I'm set, come down, and it's going to hold that angle. So say, standard loft on a 7-iron, for example, is like say 30 to 32, 33. Uh-huh. And now at impact, if you get on a TrackMan, now I'm at 24 degrees of loft. Right. So I'm taking off anywhere from like 6 to 8 degrees of loft and compressing the ball so much better. Yeah. So Mike, what made you develop this? How did you develop it? What was the process like?
Yeah. So, again, I was just crappy and I love golf, right? I even loved it when I was crappy. When I got good, I'm going to tell you how much more I loved it, okay? It was freaking nuts, man. And of course, you can imagine all my buddies, my brother. What in the hell happened to you, right? Now I'm blowing the ball by them in the air, So, since I was such a crappy golfer, I loved it so much. I just had to figure out what was going on, and I'm not going to pretend that it was easy. Okay, Joe and company. I don't know how many reps I did. 520 million. I'm not sure exactly, but it was a lot of reps. And finally my brain clicks in, hey, you don't have to flip your hands at the ball anymore to get it to launch off the golf club. And, so it was just the most amazing thing. And then I had to have it developed, right? If you can do it for me, imagine if I can get it into the hands of 100,000 other golfers, right? They will love me for the rest of their life. So I was just so motivated to do it.
So just so everybody knows, because I don't know if a lot of people can visualize what he's talking about, is when you're following through, right? If we're watching the video, when you're following through, it's bringing that. If you're a righty golfer, it's that left hand. It's that flip. Right, so this stops the left hand from flipping. Right, it holds. It kind of like holds the finish, I guess you could say. Right.
It does. Well, actually,
we got to get that into the hands of my dad.
Yeah, if you don't mind me butting in, they move together. Go ahead. You're connected, so if you're flipping the left, you're flipping the right. And so this one kind of takes the focus onto the right hand, but it affects both. It's so about. I wish I could talk to everybody in the world that's a crappy golfer. It is so much about shaft lean and body rotation. If you don't rotate into the ball, you can get the ball in the air by flipping at it, right? We've done that for years. But to get the ball to compress and get in the air, you absolutely, positively need to have shaft lean and good body rotation, period. There's no ways around it.
Well, this stops you from flipping and forces you to rotate more, because Correct. If you don't, that you're just going to top the ball. You know what I mean? So what it does is that you'll be able to hear it. So if I'm at a dress like this and I'm held down, once I set the club, right? So you bring the ball back on, you bring the club back on your back take. Once you hear that, my wrists are set, right? So I'm going to keep this. It's not going to allow me. So if I was normal, it's not going to allow me to flip. So whether I tried flipping it with my left hand or tried flipping it with my right hand, you've just got this horizontal. So I can basically turn my wrist up, but I can't flip it.
Right.
And I've noticed where there were a couple of times, like when I did have the TrackMan, I would take a 7-iron out, and I was hitting my 7-iron with this on 170 yards. Now, once you get into that constant work with it, and you get that feel, once you get that feel, then it's easy to take it away. But it's something you have to I think you have to constantly work on, like what you said. It's like, what is it, like 10,000 repetitions before you become a master of something, right? Yeah. You have to constantly work on it. So for me, my schedule is that, I have a net in my backyard. I'll go hit 20, 30 shots, 50 shots if the weather's nice, just in my backyard. I don't care where it goes. It's more about getting my body to turn and compressing the ball where you feel that compression. You're hitting the center of the club face, and that ball just rockets, where you could feasibly slow down your swing and you're still going to launch the ball, incredibly far.
Absolutely.
But it's that shaft lean, because it's like you're taking your 7-iron, which could be like, as I said, like a 30 or 34 degrees, and you're making it like a 5-iron.
Correct.
That's basically what you're doing. And Doug, I've played with you. You get a tremendous amount of shaft lean for how you hit the ball. But this, if you're suffering from the yips, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that word. This is something that it's less than the price of a lesson, right? And it's something that you could always refer to. So I keep this in the bag. As I said, I'm heading out to Phoenix this week to play golf. This is going in the bag, and when we get to the course and I'm warming up, you're going to hear this on the golf course, on the practice range.
Oh, yeah.
Smack. Then so I found out about this product from Eric Cajorno.
Oh, yeah.
So
I know Eric pretty well.
Yeah, so Eric posted one of his his discount codes. I used it, and I think by far this is one of the greatest training aids that I have ever used. Where if I feel like I'm getting a little bit too flippy, I'll take a video of myself, and I know exactly what you were talking about, where you freeze frame it at impact, and my club is this way.
Oh yeah, you could tell. I could just see it. I could see my dad swinging. That's how my dad swings. His driver goes 100. Every club goes the same distance. Every club. I'm serious. I mean, he's 76 years old. Sorry, Dad. I don't mean to use you as a example, but he's the perfect example.
Richie Roo.
DJ Richie Roo. Every club goes the same. His driver goes 160 yards. His 7-iron goes 160 yards. His 3 hybrid goes 160 yards. I got to get that in the hands of him. Get it in his hands.
I think it helps promote like more of like a body swing, right? Where I was watching a video on YouTube. I can't remember the exact video, but they were saying where, like, say hypothetically your arms are swinging at 15 miles an hour and your body's only swinging at, say, like 5 miles an hour. I don't know the exact, so don't hold me to this, but your body is turning a lot slower than your hands are moving. And this forces you to slow down your arms, so you have less of like an arm, it's less of an arm swing. It's more of a body swing, so it's a lot smoother, and it keeps that position, like that great impact position where you get that great shaft lean.
Right.
It's a great tool. It's a great tool.
Incidentally, if you look at a frame by frame of any tour player, I'll send you like all the pictures I've taken. Every single one of them are the same way at impact. I mean, the best guys, right? Tiger Woods, McIlroy, John Rahm. John Rahm is really insane. I mean, and Dustin Johnson, I can't even bend my wrist back, forcing his back as far as those guys hold it. They're that's not bad. Holy crap. Good for you.
Well, John Rahm has that half swing where he takes it only up to here. Yeah. But he basically does that, where I've found with using this, I went from, and Doug, you could attest to this, like I had a very over the top swing because I would overswing where I was coming out like this way, where I was almost leaning forward. And I noticed like guys like Dustin Johnson or especially John Rahm, they're taking half swings. So I basically, I left it where once I feel my arm touch my chin, I don't care if it feels like a half swing, I'm done. Swing down and I can control it better, because then that's forcing my arms to follow my body instead of my body following my arms, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another beautiful thing. You do not need a big backswing to compress a ball.
No.
And Johnny Rahm is the testament of that.
Yeah, totally.
Mike,
go ahead,
I got a question for you, Mike. So I'm a flipper as well, and I was a caster up until like 2 seasons ago, so I had double problems. But have you seen in all your experience with your creation a correlation between using this and ball position? Because what I found is that I started flipping because I had the ball in the improper spot. So now I'm working my way backwards, which this seems like a fantastic tool for me to use, because then it's going to force me to put the ball in the proper spot as well. Is that linked in some way?
Yeah, it's partly because it requires a great rotation. Again, you look at those guys like John Rahm, all the best players in the world, when they are making contact with the ball, I got plenty of pictures, right? When they are making contact with the ball, their body, their hips and their shoulders are almost facing the target already, right? They get so much shaft lean. So I think the ball position is all a derivative or a subset of the great body rotation, and some people will find, I think I did, will find that my ball position when I was a crappy golfer was much different than it was when I was a good golfer. Good observation.
Well, Nick, to also help you with that too, is that I my coach put me into the stack and tilt, where I would line up so driver's going to be on my left heel, 3-wood's going to be on my left heel, but then every club from say my 4-iron down to my 8-iron or 9-iron, I would put one club head inside of my left heel, and then wedges center of the stance. So I do the stack and tilt because it was something to keep my body where I was already transitioning, so I already had my weight on my left hand side, because I know you're a lefty golfer, so it would be the opposite. Sure. And I went away from that for a little while, and then I went back to like putting everything in the center, and then hey, 7-iron would be in the center, 6-iron would be a ball position up like that, and it was too confusing. Now it's like easy setup. Every club is a club head inside my left, except for my wedges, which go in the center. But it depends what kind of shot you're doing there. But 3-wood hybrid driver is right off my left heel, and then it just kind of makes less of a thought process on it. Where I'd rather have more fun with like the wedge side of it, where it's just like, hey, if I want to hit a low shot, I'm going to put it back in my stance. If I want to hit it high, I'm going to put the ball, up, right, maybe up on my left foot if I want to flop it or land it softly. And in terms of the impact, I felt that it like what Mike was saying, it's forcing you to turn into it. So it doesn't matter where the ball is, right? That you've got to get your body around to basically compress the ball and to reach the ball. And it's one of those things that like, you're not going to put this on and all of a sudden start crushing balls. You've got to get used to it, because now it's like, okay, I'm used to hitting the ball like this, maybe even like this, right? So if you hit like this, you're topping the ball. You hit like this, you're adding loft to the ball, and it's not going far. When you hit like this, right? When your impact position is like this, now you've got to remember, take your body has to come down to basically offset that wrist hinge, right? So you've got to physically get down on the ball, and then it's an amazing feeling. Like I can't describe it. Like I know I've done videos for Mike and his team and at the range, but when you feel that ball compress, and say your 8-iron was typically your 140 club, and then all of a sudden that 8-iron is flying 150, 155 yards. Now your 8-iron became your 7-iron. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing feeling. But the thing is for me, I'm so new at this because I just recently got this, that it might take like the rest of the season. Like every time I go to the range or every time I hit, I make sure that this thing is on my wrist, or when I'm practicing, I'm practicing every time, I'm working with this and just even to hit a couple of chip shots, half shots, whatever it is, it's helping me set that wrist where, eventually it's going to get to the point where I know that as soon as I set that club, this wrist stays like that until impact, and then I release the club. And that's basically what it ingrains. You're good. I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't sync up that body rotation with shaft lean, if your body, in other words, you got the shaft lean going on, okay. If you don't complement it with the body rotation, you could either whiff, okay, or you could just stick it right into the ground. So don't be surprised. I would tell yourselves and everybody else I could possibly reach out to, is until you sync those up, you can't get to the promised land. But once you get those things synced up, it is like golf bliss. It's incredible.
Yeah. So Mike, tell us about Peter Costas.
Yeah. So Peter is our ambassador, if you will. He's very prominent on our website, and so he was one of my first customers. He was his first customers. I think he was like the 100th or somewhere in that neighborhood customer, and so we sold 12,000. So he bought it a long time ago, and I remember getting the order, and I'm thinking, oh, look at that, Peter Costas ordering. That's cool. He's a pretty high profile guy. Whew. And lo and behold, a week later or 2 weeks later, he called me and he says, Mike, this product is amazing. I need to help you with it. I need to get behind it, do your videos for you. I'm well connected, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we've done some very cool things with him. We were down in Florida about a year ago in West Palm. and we did probably 6, 7, 8 hours of raw footage and gleaned from all that raw footage some really cool clips. We got a 30-second clip, a 60-second clip, if we ever want to do an ad on TV. And then we got a bunch of other clips with him and with some other really good golfers. One being a girl who happens to be good looking, but she's her name is Golfer Girl M, if you want to look her up on on Instagram. But she's played at University of Alabama, and she's a stick, man. She freaking kills it. So we all of us down there, and with Peter involved, and he's such a good public speaker. He does such a wonderful job at explaining how to use it. He's got 6 or 7 drills on our website that are freaking priceless. So, yeah, great relationship there. Great guy to have on board. Now, of course, we're getting in with Cagorno and Clay Ballard, and there's several others that are really getting some great visibility for it.
Yeah, Eric's one of my favorites in terms of online.
He's great.
I think he's fantastic. He's one of my favorites. And then my friend JT Thomas, I think, just hooked up with him also. So he's been going back and forth. Yeah. JT owns Dollar Divot Club out in Staten Island, New York. So yeah, so he's gone down, done a couple of videos. I think he's on Eric's team. So that's pretty. It's a small world, but Eric is one of the guys that when you're flipping through YouTube and you're getting bombarded with advice and lessons and this and that. I'll stop and watch one of Eric's videos. And again, this is how I found out about this product. So props to you, Eric. That's how I found out about it. And just watching video after video, I'd always, again, struggled with that flip. And that's my problem. I have the swing speed. I've got the athleticism. It's just that I have an overactive right hand that flips the club, and I lose a tremendous amount of distance and compression by flipping the club. So, Doug, this could help you with your current case of the yips.
At this point, I'll try anything. I tried the change in the different pockets, hat backwards, I'll try anything. Believe me. So tell us, where can we find it? Where do we find it, Mike?
On
my website, Instagram. What do you got?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Pure Swing Products, and right now we're a single product company. We'll have 2 soon because we're getting a left-handed version. You're welcome, Nick. And,
I spend my entire life just flipping stuff around. So when it comes to having actually unique stuff, I beg the guys at my company to make prototypes for me because they bust everything out in righty. So it's
right. So it's called Pure Swing Products.com, and the Instagram is the same one, @Pure Swing Products. And we got a lot of good content. We got like I said, Peter's is prominently displayed on our website, and it's a good website. It may not be the greatest in the world, but it does well for us, and maybe we do an upgrade here sometime soon. But it's nice, and that's where you can find it. And I wish everyone who bought it, I get returns, of course. Everybody gets returns. It's such a shame that everyone can't have that same experience I did. Now we get very few returns, under 5%, which is great for the industry. But I just wish it could work for everyone.
Well, I'm trying to get my playing partners to actually let me play around with it on.
There you go.
I'll do it. I'll do it with you. Let's go.
Play a
Let's
whole
go.
entire round with it on.
Why not?
I'm telling you, man, just the contact and the way it's working. But the other thing, Mike, I wanted to ask: would you be willing to give our listeners a special discount code? Would you do that for us?
Heck yeah, I would. Heck yeah.
Awesome.
I might. Do I have one for you already, Joe? I can't remember.
We do. We do, but we do, but I would prefer one to say like the GolfJitsu pod or GolfJitsu. Either one of those would be fine. I think GolfJitsu would probably be the easiest.
Okay.
So yeah. So when this drops, guys, I'm sure we'll take care of this. We'll get this all ironed out. But use coupon code GolfJitsu for how much off, Mike?
We get $20.
$20 off.
Ooh, beautiful.
So for product, Mike, the product retails for what, $129, right?
Right.
So $129. So for $109, the less than the price of a 1 hour lesson with a professional, you have basically, your swing fixer in your bag at your disposal anytime you need it. So the other thing, hey, Mike, I see that you're wearing a Callaway hat. Are you a Callaway? Are you a Callaway guy?
Just happen to have a Callaway hat. I couldn't find my Tiger Woods hat, but or my.
Did you watch Tiger this weekend?
I did. Yeah, I was. He, of course, Tiger. He says I'm going there to win, but he just making the cut was amazing.
Well, I bet Doug before, because when we cut the last podcast, I'm like, I bet you he doesn't make it to the weekend. And then I saw that they had posted, because I didn't watch on Friday, and it didn't look like he was going to make the cut. And then all of a sudden he made the cut because the line moved. So, right. I mean, it was great to see the Sunday red, though. I will say that. It was great to see the Sunday red.
I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we have the beauty about, I think now, or where we're living in now, is that, in Tiger's era, when he was, big cat number one, and I'll never take it away from him, he's the greatest to ever play the game. Okay. There was only really Tiger, like everybody feared Tiger. Now you've got so many great players coming up. Like you got the Schefflers, the Rahms, that, the Cantlay. When Cantlay gets hot and that putter gets hot, watch out. Unfortunately, we lost Cameron Smith to live. Yeah. He was another one that, like, literally, he was nowhere to be found on Friday, but on moving day, all of a sudden, Cam's moving up, and then Cam's in second place, and Cam's one stroke behind, and then Cam takes it.
Yeah.
There's just a plethora of great golfers. I think we live in a great time. It's a great time to be alive and be into golf, because I don't watch any other sports. I don't like sports. I don't watch football. I don't watch hockey anymore. I watch golf. That's it. And I think we're living in a freaking amazing time with these kids that are coming up are incredible.
I know that Homa. I never even heard of Homa 2 years ago, and that was like unbelievable.
He's another one. He's gonna hit a run and get a bunch of wins in there too. Max Homa is another incredible golfer. I'd like to see JT, in the winner's circle again, or in heavy contention, and Spieth. How could you not love Jordan Spieth?
You gotta love Spieth.
So there's just like a roster like that is insane. I have a question for you, Mike, that I'm curious, and I just started asking questions. If you were a pro golfer, right, and you had the opportunity to go to live or stay with the PGA Tour, what would you do?
PGA Tour.
PGA Tour?
Yeah.
There was no hesitation on that.
He's right away.
No, I don't make it I don't argue about it with great passion like some people do, but I just don't think it was the right thing for those folks to do. Yeah.
I happen to agree, because I think at first when it first came out, I was just like, well, I can understand there's no cut. These guys are getting more time at home. They're basically like what DJ said in Full Swing, where it's just like, hey, I'm going to make more money and I'm going to work less, so like you'd be crazy to think, like, if you work an office job, right? Well, hey, instead of working 40 hours a week, I'm going to work 20 hours a week, and I'm going to make more money than when I was making working 40 hours a week. But as time progressed, I have to say I went for, like, now I'm totally legacy guy, where it's just like I would totally stick with the PGA. What about you, Doug?
It's just, I was for competition. I shouldn't say I was for live. I was for competition. I wanted to see it, and I got excited because I thought maybe it would be good. But there's no drama like coming down on a Sunday with a one-stroke lead with 3 holes to go, I mean, the money's the money, whatever. They don't talk about the money, really, to be honest with you. On the PGA Tour, you find that at the end, he won $3.6 million. This tournament was $2.4 million. It's not about the money on the PGA Tour. It's really about that coming down the stretch. And you could feel, like, I feel the pressure for these guys coming down with one stroke on 18. I couldn't even imagine what they feel like.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the PGA Tour. And like I said, I gave Liv a shot. I'll give it a shot again. I'll watch it because I like DJ. I like Koepka.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Kevin Na. I'm a huge fan of Kevin. We'll talk about this later in the podcast, but it's nothing like I said, it's not like a Sunday. It's nothing like a final round Sunday.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
PGA Tour. I think the idea of a competitive association to go with the PGA makes a lot of sense. But I'm a traditionalist when it comes to golf, when it comes to baseball. The game was created a certain way because of that. Not to say that change is good, bad, or indifferent. Change is good. But Doug hit the nail on the head. I mean, I have no incentive to sit and watch 54 holes of a live event. I have every incentive in the world to watch the 10 major PGA Tour events every year, right? You've got the 4 majors, you've got the players, you've got the Genesis. I mean, they're there, the Ryder Cup, like all of that. I have incentive to watch that because you feel what the players are going through when it's a high pressure situation. It's just not there with Liv. Now, do I wish I could fast forward 5 years and answer this question then? Sure, but I don't see where it's going to the point where it'll ever catch with the PGA Tour is.
Well, one thing that Liv will, like, I did go to a Liv event because I wanted to see what it would be like, know. And after coming from, like, my first golf event that I ever went to was the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits, and that was my first ever golf event.
Talk about a welcome to golf event. Jeez,
it was insane. Like, where, like, insane doesn't cut it. Just the experience where I was just like, listen, in terms of live action sports, I will say that nothing comes close except for golf to hockey.
Nothing.
Right?
Nothing comes close. Nothing.
Playoffs at the Garden
Nothing.
is the greatest sporting event in the world.
Right. But when I was at the Ryder Cup, and it's, even though all of Team Europe they're all like American citizens and live in the United States, here in the USA chants, and just the energy from that place was just insane. So that was my first event. My second event that I went to was Liv. And Liv is, it was still early on. It was at Trump National Bedminster. DJ had a huge following. DeChambeau had a huge following. So Koepka had a huge following. But it wasn't anywhere near what, I was getting within inches of DJ.
But, Joe, you can't compare a Ryder Cup to a regular event. No, you got to go to a regular tour event and then compare it to a live event, because like you said, there is nothing like. I've never been to a Ryder Cup. I've been to a U.S. Open. I've been to a PGA I've been in a couple of PGA Championships. I've been to regular, at the regular event, the FedEx Cup at Liberty National. Nothing compares to a Ryder Cup.
Yeah, but we got Ryder Cups coming to Bethpage next year.
Is it next year?
No,
no. I think it's a couple of years.
A couple of years. Yeah. So I think the next Ryder Cup's in Italy, right?
Yeah, that's
and then
insane.
It comes to Bethpage. That's
going to be insane.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bethpage. Well, I've only played red, so I haven't played black yet.
Yeah,
because I'm not baby.
Just watching.
Get to the black.
I remember you guys when they were playing the U.S. Open at Bethpage. And everybody was, like even par, 3, 4, 5, 6 over. And they asked Tiger Woods, they said, how do you think a regular club pro would do here? So we're talking about a guy with a 0 to a 1, 2, 3 handicap. He said, I think they'd be doing well to break 120. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, they just grow the rough up for the U.S. Open. Ridiculous. The ridiculous heights. It's just ridiculous. It's not even golf. That's like clown golf,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
There's something fun about watching those guys shoot even or one over. I mean, the 20 under events are fun. There's a lot of great shots hit, but there's still something fun about watching those guys grind it out for a weekend. I mean, 100%.
Yeah, it's carnage. I agree. It's carnage everywhere. But it's great.
I'm not gonna lie, but I love when they're chipping and they've got like a 10-foot chip and they just go right under the ball and it goes like 3 feet. I'm just like, they are human.
They're human. They certainly are human.
They are human.
I remember this great story. Just take a second here, but when they played the U.S. Open at Pinehurst #2, those greens are like crown, right?
Yes,
it's brutal, and they're brutal. I played there. It's freaking brutal. Thank God I had a caddy that would tell me where to start the ball. I had no idea where even to start the ball. And I remember Johnny Miller saying sometime in the third or fourth round, he said, we need to start keeping track of another statistic: chips and regulation.
Right.
I saw so many chips run off the green; it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
those turtlebacks.
You're exactly.
I haven't played Pinehurst yet. Like, I've gone on a trip down there. We played like Pine Needles and all those other surrounding courses. But I did go to Pinehurst, and I think it's on #2 where you're sit and eat on the patio, and then like the 18th green of #2 or 4 is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, we were sitting outside, and it's incredible because you're watching all these amateur golfers that, they're probably 15 handicaps, on the good side, and they could also be 40 handicaps. And you're watching just balls just run off the green. It's like a 10-foot putt that goes way past it. And you're just like, holy cow. Like Sage Valley is like that. Sage Valley down in South Carolina, which is 15 minutes north of Augusta, where you'll be walking up to the green and, you watch your ball placement and you're like, all right, I got an uphill putt. And then you get to the ball and you're like, all right, it's uphill and it's breaking right to left. So I'm going to aim, 2 cups out to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And then your caddy gets up there and they're like, no, it's downhill. And you've got to aim 2 cups out to the left.
Right.
And I'm like, how do you see this? Well, Fazio likes to design like, it's all an illusion. So even though you're walking up and, like the green's above your head and you're walking up and you're looking at it, it's like, well, it's pitched this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm uphill. And then you get up on the green and you're like, no, you're downhill. Trust me.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, listen, you're the caddy. You do these loops like 2 times a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to listen to you. And then all of a sudden the ball goes in the hole and you're like, wow. And I can only imagine what these guys go like on the PGA Tour. Like, they're missing these putts that we would like 4-putt, 5-putt. And they're, when they 3-putt, we'd probably 5-putt it, 6-putt it or whatever.
Easily.
That's true. Do you remember when they played there? This is another very cool story. John Daly was putting. I don't know what green it was on, but he was putting. He was off the green on the frog hairs, right? And he's putting up to the green. He putted once, it came back to him. Twice, came back to him. Third time, came back to him. Fourth time, started coming back to him. He walked towards the ball and just whacked it like a polo player. Went and got his ball and walked off the freaking course.
Sounds like a John Daly.
Definitely sounds like a John Daly thing to do.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, golf is hard and it's frustrating, and
It's very hard.
It's like this past weekend, Pete and I, we decided to go out and play. So we played this course that it was one of the executive courses that I learned how to play on. And we were doing phenomenal. I mean, we were even par. So it was one of those challenges that I wanted to see how far I'd come, right? Because it's like, when you're playing every week and you have your on weeks, you have your off weeks, it's hard to gauge that you're growing as a golfer and you're getting better, right? Even though like your friends will tell you like, yo, listen, you're doing well. And it's one thing to look at a scorecard, but I wanted to go back to the courses that we played. Like, this is when I first started playing. And we were doing great, and then the wind kicked up, like something fierce. Like we had like 20-mile-an-hour consistent hard winds, and it felt like it was in our face 95% of the holes. And what went to be like, all right, I'm going to go to this executive course and I'm going to shoot under par. That's what I want to do to just prove to myself that I've gotten better in these last, 6 or 7 years. Went to, all right, now I'm not going to break par and I'm going to shoot over because every shot I hit is falling 10 yards short. So it's one of those things that no matter how good you get, golf just throws so many variables at you, and there's so many things that can screw up that perfect round. And when you look at like what these guys are doing on like the PGA, you're like, week in and week out, they could be, like say a guy like John Rahm, who's on, he's on this this jet propulsion to be, like the next great, like Sev, like that, the next greatest Spaniard that people are going to put up in that stratosphere of like with Sevi. And, at a moment's notice, the game can fall apart, Yeah.
Well, he kind of fell apart on one hole last week. He knocked into the woods on one hole. He had a horrible lie. He was only 30 yards from the green, but he didn't get it on the green. He left himself with a downhill lie on short grass and a pin running away from him. So, of course, he knocked that one way over the green. I think he made either made double or triple. I can't remember, but he recovered pretty good.
Mike, I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your product. If you can give all your website information again, where can our listeners purchase the Precision Impact?
Yep, at www.pureswingproducts.com.
And you could also find you guys on Instagram at Pure Swing Products as well.
That is correct.
And then listener, use coupon code GolfJitsu for $20 off. That's less than the price of what? That's good, right?
I'm saying 20. That's $20.
That's $20, That's a pizza.
$20.
$20, right?
Pizza. Unbelievable. $20 for a pizza. Oh my God.
I know.
Plain pizza. That's without toppings.
Plain pizza. Thanks a lot, Mike. Appreciate it. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people going flooding to that website. I know I'm going to get one for my dad and myself.
Beautiful.
100%.
Love to hear it.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
for your
Let
time,
me know
everybody.
when that lefty one comes out.